Okay, good evening. We're going to continue our study of Genesis by looking at yet another life-changing verse. If we look at the story of the creation of the world as told at the beginning of Genesis, so there's one word that comes up several times, and that is the word tov. Tov, meaning good. That it says that God looked at the world and it was good. The world he created, he looked at it and it was good. Even one time he says it was very good. Tova, very good. That is a good name. So a name is the description of the soul. So a good soul. Hope hope so. So calling someone or something good is a good thing. It's a good label. Sometimes we talk about this is my rotten kid, this is my naughty kid. Well, okay, you're given a label now. Like they might live up to that. You got to be careful. Or it's going to be a bad day today, or I'm having a bad year. Okay, I mean it might be difficult, but you've given it a label now. You've called it something. You got to be careful. God was very intent at the beginning of creation in saying it is good. This is a good world. It's a good place. Yes, there are challenges and there are things that make it difficult, but it is a good world. The world is good. That's how God labeled the world. There's only one exception. There's one thing he said is not good. In creation of the world, there was one thing that God himself said, this is not good. And that was man to be alone. It is not good for man to be alone. This is after creating Adam, the first man. So God, almost like reflecting on this creation, says, Loi tov, it is not good for Adam to be alone. Therefore, I'm going to make him a helpmate against him, opposite him. I'm going to create him a partner. And this was the introduction to the creation of Eve, the first woman. So fascinatingly, the first thing and the only thing in creation that is described as not good is a man alone, which we can testify to that. That's certainly uh, can be troubling and problematic. But fascinating, very interesting. It's not good for man to be alone. And so, what's the solution? God says, and He's talking to Himself here, or to us, or to all of us. It's not good for man to be alone. I'll make him a help opposite him. The Hebrew phrase is ezer, a help, kenegdo, opposite him, against him, which is also, excuse me, an interesting term. We've got a problem. The problem is man is alone. It's not good. That's something that's not good in the world. Loneliness is not a good thing. So therefore, and God says, I'm going to alleviate that loneliness by creating another. Until now, Adam was by himself, and now we're introducing Eve, a partner in life. He's not going to be alone. Adam will not be alone anymore. And how is that partner described? As an Ezer, a helper, kenegdo, opposite him or against him, which is again a fascinating term. We see that every single word in the Torah, and especially at these words of creation, every word contains in it cataclysmic meaning and relevant purpose. We have to go into every single phrase and understand, what is this talking about? Why is it not good for Adam to be alone? And why is the solution to that to create a helper against him, a helpmate that's opposite him? Uh, Fascinating words. So the great Rashi, the great commentary that we always start with, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, he comments on that phrase. What does it mean that it's not good for man to be alone? He says, so that people may not say that there are two deities. The Holy One, blessed be He, alone among the celestial beings without a mate, and this one, Adam, alone among the terrestrial beings without a mate. That people could make a mistake that there's one God in heaven and there's one God on earth. Just like in heaven, there's God who has no mate. So too down here on earth, there is Adam that has no mate. He's alone. This would not be good. This is a problem. This would be problematic. And so therefore, God says, this is what's not good. What's not good, good means morality. Goodness means morality. Good doesn't mean convenient or nice. Good means what is right, what is correct. If there's one man on earth, so then it'll look like there's two deities, one in heaven, one on earth. So therefore, I'm going to create a partner for man on earth. There's not just one being, there are going to be several. And therefore, it's going to be clear that there's one God in heaven for the entire universe. And on earth, there's many to differentiate between man and God. And this itself is an important point. It is important for us to understand and to know we are not God. There is one God, it's not us. Sounds obvious, but actually we live our lives sometimes thinking that we are God. We are the center of the universe, or we have control over everything, or we can be perfect, or we're going to live forever, or we're infallible and we're always right. All the things that are really descriptions that are reserved for God, we sometimes apply to ourselves mistakenly. They don't apply to us. We can't be perfect. We are innately imperfect. That is what a human being is. We're here to work on our flaws, improve, but we're never going to be perfect, and that's not our role to be perfect. We are fallible. We do make mistakes. We can make mistakes. We are finite in our capabilities, in our abilities, in our wisdom, in our understanding, and in our time in this earth. We're not here forever. And we don't control anything. God is in control. We are not in control. The best we can do is try and control ourselves, our inner world. But what happens to us, what happens in the outer world, what other people do, how other people live their lives, including close relatives, we don't have control over. So we have to let go of that. We are not God. So Rashi says, so what does it mean? It's not good for man to be alone. It's going to end badly if it looks like there's God in heaven and God on earth. No, it has to be very clear. There's God in heaven and humans on earth. We are the terrestrial beings. We're not God. That's how he explains it. And he goes on to explain what it means a help opposite him. And he says that this partner that I'm going to give him, well, if it's a help, that's with him, right? If you're helping someone, you're with them. You're on their side. If you're opposite, that means you're not with them. That's not a help. Opposite is an opposition. So what does it mean that I'm giving him a help that is opposite him? So Rashi says, well, it depends how he behaves. He might earn a help, or he might earn an opponent. It could go either way, Rashi says. So that awkward phrase, a help opposite him, Rashi says is talking about two possibilities, a help or opposite him. As we see throughout history, that this is the truth of our relationships. That if we're lucky, we get a supportive help, a partner in life, somebody who is the other half, who complements who we are and who lifts us up. If not, if you're not so lucky, so it's somebody who is against you, who makes your life miserable, and it's a struggle. It depends if you're lucky or not, if you merit or not. So says Rashi. It's talking about two different types of partners, the helper or the opponent. But we're going to see, as we go into the deeper explanations of this, that the simple reading of the phrase, a helper against him, a helper who's opposite, is not talking about two different beings. It's talking about the one and the same.
Because when you are in a relationship, you have to grow together and you have to be opposite each other to clash, I suppose, like sandpaper.
Mm-hmm.
When someone once said, what was it name? She's a psychologist and she works with my sister. She came to Brisbane and gave a lecture. Renee Hill. Yeah. And she said relationships are like sandpaper and you rub each other until you're smooth.
Smooth. Yep.
So,
very good.
like that.
Yes.
So it's opposite you, but it helps you at the
Correct.
same time.
Correct. So counterintuitively, we think that if somebody's on my side and they agree with me and we fit together nicely, so then that's going to be a peaceful, good relationship. Whereas if there's tension and friction, that's a negative. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. as we'll see, and we'll look further into it. After Rashi, we'll look at the Ramban. Ramban Nachmanides, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, is another one of the classic commentaries. He gives sometimes things on the simple level, and he also goes into the mystical. In this case, he's more on the simple, straightforward translation of this verse. So he says it does not appear likely that man was created to be alone in the world and not beget children, since all created beings, male and female of all flesh, were created to raise seed. If you look at the rest of creation, the animals propagate. So it didn't make sense that there should just be Adam, and that's it. The herb and trees also have their seed in them. They reproduce as well, even herbs. There's even male and female in the plant world. But it is possible to say that it was in accordance with the opinion of the rabbi who says in the Talmud that Adam was created with two faces, i.e. male and female persons combined, and they were so made that there should be in them an impulse causing the organs of generation to produce a generative force from male to female. Or you may say seed, in accordance with a known controversy concerning pregnancy, and the second face was a help to the first in the procreative process. So he says in quite complicated words, but he says that really Adam and Eve were always going to be Adam and Eve. It wasn't that there was Adam then Eve. In fact, God created Adam and Eve together as two parts of one being. What he then did is separate them. But he created them first as one, so there should be an innate and natural attraction towards each other. That they started as one creation, they were separated. But when you separate one being, it's two halves of one being, that they're going to have a natural magnetism towards each other. They're going to need to find each other because everything has to go back to where it came from. It's completeness. Anytime you have a complete thing and you take it apart, it wants to go back. It feels it's lacking. There's a void. And so God originally created Adam and Eve as one joined being, separated them, so they should want each other. So they should have a natural magnetic attraction towards each other. So in the Holy and Blessed be He saw that it is good that the help stand facing him and that he should see and be separated from it or joined to it at his will. This is the meaning of what he said in the verse, I will make him a helper opposite him. So the Ramban, Nachmanides here, puts together the two phrases. It's not good for man to be alone, meaning for Adam to be this two-sided being, Adam and Eve joined as one being. That's not good because as such they can't procreate. There can be no continuation of the species. So that's obviously not the ultimate purpose. So I'll make him a helpmate opposite him, meaning I'll separate the two so they can face each other, both in a literal sense of standing opposite each other as opposed to being joined together as one, as Siamese twins, but also on an emotional level, standing opposite each other means they could choose each other. They're separate beings, and only a separate being can choose to be in a relationship. As long as Adam and Eve were joined together as one being, there's no choice in that relationship. If you're a Siamese twin, so you don't get up in the morning and say, okay, so who am I going to hang out with today? Well, that choice has been made for you. Like you have an appendage, you have another person joined to you. That's who you're hanging out with today. Who are you going to be close with? Who are you going to have a relationship with? Who are you going to chat with? There's no choice there because you're joined together as one. As long as Adam and Eve were joined together, there was no choice in their relationship. Standing opposite each other means they could choose each other. They're separate entities, they're separate beings. You could face away, you could go off, or you can come and join this relationship. And so a helpmate opposite him, against him, opposite means a help, they will be a unit, they'll work together, but they'll work together through choice. So what the Ramban here is saying is a fascinating idea that the very foundation of a true relationship, there are two requirements. One is you can only have a relationship with a being who is separate from you, not an appendage of yourself, which means that person has to have their own independent identity, their own opinions and way of looking at things. They have to be another. That's number one. And number two, for the relationship to be a true one, it has to be choice. They have to choose to be in the relationship. They could walk away, and they choose to walk in. Because if it's a forced relationship, it's also not a relationship. So you can't have a relationship with an appendage of yourself, an extension of yourself, and you can't have a relationship with somebody who's forced to be in a relationship with you. It can only be a separate being who, in their separateness, chooses to connect with you. That's a true relationship. Otherwise, it's not a relationship. So we can have an imaginary friend, but that's not a real relationship. That's an extension of you. The same applies with real people. Sometimes we create imaginary friends out of real people. In other words, we decide how that person is, who that person should be. We create a picture of them that is our image of them as opposed to who they are. That's not a relationship with them. You're not hearing them. You're not listening to them. A person has to have the freedom to be who they are, and you relate to them as they are. You have to accept the person as they are, not create the vision of who you'd like them to be. That's a real relationship. And it has to be choice by choice. It can't be forced. It can't be through manipulation. It can't be through emotional blackmail. It's not a real relationship then. It has to be you're in because you want to be here. And if you don't want to be here, so then you have the freedom to go. Only then is it a true relationship. So this is the meaning. It's not good for man to be alone, meaning man to have an appendage on him. So there's not two people, it's just one being, one Adam. I have to separate Adam and Eve so that she will be able to help him. They'll be able to work together by being opposite him, a separate entity, a separate being who can choose to relate to him. And he concludes in the second paragraph, the meaning of the expression, it is not good, is that it cannot be said of man that it is good when he is alone, for he will not be able to so exist. In the work of creation, the good means existence, as I've explained on the text, and God saw that it was good. So Ramban, he says that because Adam, with Eve as an appendage to him, cannot reproduce, so there's no goodness. Goodness, he says, good means to be able to exist, to be able to continue. That is what ultimate goodness is, something that is lasting. There's nothing lasting here, so therefore they had to be separated. So Ramban here, Nachmanides, has given us a slightly deeper insight into this verse and give us a little bit more, I guess, of a psychological view of the separation of Adam and Eve, how they had to be one, because by originally being one, they have an attraction to each other. They're not innately strangers. Adam and Eve are not two entities. If God made Adam and then made Eve, so then they're two species. They're two separate beings. They may or may not get on. They may or may not be attracted to each other. They're not innately one. So God made them originally as one. But leaving it that way, there'd be no procreation, and also there'd be no choice. There'd be no relationship. So they were split. The creating them as one causes that they are innately one, and therefore there's a magnetism. When they're split, they'll still want to be together. And the magic of the attraction between male and female is all because we were created originally as one. We're all from Adam and Eve, who were created as one entity. We really belong as one. But if we were left that way as one, then there'd be no relationship. There'd just be one entity. So by separating us, there's now two beings, two separate beings, who have this innate attraction, but they have to choose each other. They have to choose to recognize that to enact that attraction and to allow themselves to come together as one. So it's not good to be alone. It's a helpmate opposite you because therefore it's free choice. That's how Ramban, Nachmanides, sees it. Correct. So animals, they do not, by and large, and the commentaries mention this, they do not stay with one partner. They can mate with anyone. So the male species and the female species have an attraction, but they don't have an innate bond that they seek out a single partner. They say there are exceptions. The dove is usually quoted as being monogamous. I'm not sure. I think it could be, and then certain species do stick together, but by and large they don't. They don't have that concept. Okay, so we've now at least made a little bit of sense of this verse. Why is it not good for man to be alone? Rashi says because then it leads to a sense of idolatry, of making a god into a man, man into a god. Ramban says it's not good because you can't procreate. being alone. There needs to be another. What does it mean that I'll make a helpmate against him? Rashi says, well, it's a choice. Well, it's an option. You might have a helpmate, you might have an opponent. Depends on how you behave. And Nachmanides says that once Eve is a separate entity, so the two are opposite each other, they have free choice, the two separate entities. We're now going to go into the mystical levels of this and the symbolic teachings of this, because this has to be very central to our identity. This is the description of the creation of man and woman. So therefore, it's got to be quite essential to who we are. So let's look at some of the deeper lessons from this verse. First, we're going to look at the Meshileach. We saw previously as well, Rabbi Mordechai Yosef Leiner of Ishbitz in Poland, one of the great Hasidic masters and a very original thinker. He says the following: "It is the Creator's will that salvation comes to man from that which opposes him, like the challenges of a student to a teacher." Right? So he says this is a general rule, and this is what God wanted for whatever reason. He wanted it to be that the way we reach salvation, meaning the way we reach fulfillment, the way we fulfill our mission and express who we fully are in this world, can only happen through opposition. And he compares it to a student who has a challenging, a teacher who has a challenging student. We find this in the Gemara in the Talmud. The Talmud tells the story of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, that Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish offered 24 challenges to every argument of Rabbi Yochanan, who would return with 24 possible solutions. Right. So Rabbi Yochanan was a great scholar. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish was actually originally a highway bandit that Rabbi Yochanan met, saw in him an incredible potential, and said, "Come and learn Torah with me." And he did. And in teaching him, he saw he was a brilliant student, and he became a great scholar. And he's quoted throughout the Talmud. Rabbi Shimon, he became a rabbi, from a bandit and a highwayman to a rabbi. Some say that's not a very big jump, but he was an incredible student, and so every teaching that Rabbi Yochanan would teach, Rabbi Shimon would come up with 24 challenges and questions, contradictions, asking him, and Rabbi Yochanan would one by one answer him exactly what the answers were. So it says, the Talmud continues the story that so in this way the law was clarified and settled, meaning Rabbi Yochanan would put up a point in law. Because Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish would challenge him so much, it would clarify the truth of the law, the details of it. Through the questions, it became clearer, not just to the student, but also to the teacher. When you're questioned, you're forced to go back on what you said and make sure you really understood it. And did you get it right? And does it apply in that area? And is this argument, does it hold water? If you're unchallenged in your teaching, so then you got it. This is also in Jewish tradition, study of the Talmud particularly and generally, study is encouraged to be done in pairs, not on your own. If you go into a yeshiva, into a Talmudic academy, so what do you see? You see people sitting across tables from each other, hundreds of them, studying a book in pairs. They also have classes where they'll sit and listen to a teacher, but the preparation for the class is done in pairs, students with students, peer to peer. Why is it done that way? Because when you read something on your own, you read it with your biases, with your assumptions, with your lazinesses possibly, and things you overlook, and the way you understood it with your mind. As brilliant as you may be, but it's still limited to that. When you say it out loud to another person and they're also reading it, they're going to see it differently. Something they'll see differently. There'll be something that they'll say, is that what it says? Doesn't say this? And whether they are sharper or not as sharp as you doesn't really matter. What matters is it's another person. By bouncing off another person, you're going to be challenged, inevitably. And so that's going to clarify the understanding of the topic. This even applies to the teacher who's teaching. By being challenged by the students, questioned by the students, the teacher is going to sharpen their understanding and get to a deeper truth. And that's what Rabbi Yochanan experienced with his student, Reish Lakish, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. So after Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish died, Rabbi Lazar would respond to Rabbi Yochanan with, there's a teaching that supports your words. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan then had a different student. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish passed away, and Rabbi Lazar became the student of Rabbi Yochanan. But Rabbi Elazar's style was different. Whatever Rabbi Yochanan would say, Rabbi Elazar would support it and say, you know what, I can bring a proof to your argument. What you're saying is correct, and he would agree with him. Which again, you might think, well, that sounds much better. Having a student who's constantly disagreeing and questioning, 24 questions after everything I say. How about having a student who says, you're right, and supporting and just being on your side every time? So he says here that did not help at all. Rabbi Yochanan needed to be challenged. So he would walk along tearing his clothes, saying, where are you, Resh Lakish? Where are you, Resh Lakish? Rabbi Shimon, he missed his student, his original student. Why? Because the challenge inspires the other to strengthen his argument with greater proofs and clarifies his position. So here he gives an example in the intellectual world, that when it comes to a true understanding of something, when you're in an echo chamber, so then you don't get to a deeper understanding. When you're with yes people who agree with you, so then that just reinforces your previous assumptions. You don't get to any further clarity. Whereas when you're with people who disagree, who question, who challenge what you're saying, who rub up against it, it forces you to reassess, to go deeper, and to find out, do you really believe this? Is it really clear? Are you really correct? Or do you have to adjust it and allow it to fit into an opposite way of looking at things? We see this sadly these days, very much. Many people are in their echo chambers today, in politics and in many other areas. People only mix with like-minded people who think like them, will only consume media of ideas that they already agree with, and therefore we're in a world where people cannot fathom how somebody could not think like them.
Actually, Google, very recently, Google and Microsoft, their attitude, they hire people who have diversity and who show difference of opinion to each other.
I hope that's true. Yeah.
That's very recent.
Yeah.
Definitely, Microsoft and Google have this. They don't want yes people. They want people who challenge them.
Yep. So it is a weakness of the mind to only listen to like-minded opinions. If you want to get to truth, so you have to be willing to be challenged. And so this, the Meshiloach says, this is why it says that I'll create a helpmate opposite him. That God created us in such a way that the people who will be around you, the people who will be the supporters of you, the people that will help you, will be opposite you. They will naturally rub against you. It's just the way of the world. And the way God organizes things is that you're not going to be surrounded by yes people if you want to grow. If you're stubborn and if you just want to stay where you are, so then you'll repel those people away from you. You won't allow that person who disagrees. You'll push them away because I don't want to be challenged. But then you're going to stay stagnant and be where you are and never grow. If you're willing to grow, you'll be sent the people who will challenge you. And that is the very foundation of creation. And therefore, the very first man and the very first woman were described as opposites and had to be that way. That's the inside of the Meshilach. Let's continue to another one. This is from the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, the great Kabbalist and mystic, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem. So there's a work, a collection of his teachings called Kesef Shem Tov. And it says from the following, this is a record of a teaching. The Baal Shem Tov didn't write anything. He didn't write down his teachings. They were recorded by his students. So this is from one of his students. He says, I heard from my master, our teacher, Rabbi Nachman of blessed memory. Assumedly, this is the great-grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. An explanation of the words of my teacher, the Baal Shem Tov of blessed memory, who said that one should direct oneself in every matter with submission, separation, and sweetening. In Hebrew, these three terms are hachna, havdalah, and hamtaka. This is a very deep teaching, and it's a very broad application that the Baal Shem Tov taught, that in all matters of life, whatever challenges you're going through, whatever things come up, there's three steps you always need: submission, separation, sweetening. He'll explain it one way here, but it's explained in various different ways in various different teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. That in every problem, first, submission means submitting, accepting that this is what's happening. Again, I'm not in control. God is in control. This is reality. Reality is what it is. I submit myself. I accept it for what it is. That's number one. If you're fighting against reality, so then you can't deal with reality. If you're denying it or pretending it's not there or trying to wish it away or trying to control things that you can't control, you're banging your head against a brick wall. You get nowhere. The first thing is submission, accept what's going on. Havdalah is separation, the next step. And that has various different applications. It might be separating yourself from it, realizing that this is actually not my problem. What's going on is not my problem. It's somebody else's problem. Or separating the truth from the not truth. Once you're submitted to the reality, separating what is real from what is not real, what is actually the problem, what is not really the problem, getting clarity from it. And then you can sweeten. Then you can bring the positive. Then you can turn things around to be not such a bad thing. There's a positive twist to it. You could sweeten that which is bitter. But you have to go through these 3 steps in every experience: submission, separation, and sweetening. Accepting the reality, separating yourself from it, and then sweetening, turning it around. There's a lot of depth in that. We could do a whole series just on those 3. So here he gives a particular explanation of it. This means that a person should move away from the attribute of gevura, severity, so as not to find guilt in others, but rather to enter into rachamim, compassion, and judge everyone favorably. Right? So he says that here he gives a particular example of this process, that when you're seeing somebody else who is challenging you, who is annoying you, giving you difficulty or grief, there's a problem person in your life. There's somebody who's in your way. So don't move away from gevura, being severely judgmental of that person. Don't find guilt in them immediately, but rather be compassionate. So submission means accepting this is what's happening, separating yourself from it, looking at it from an objective perspective, and then sweetening it, saying, let's not jump to conclusions that this person is evil. Let's not make assumptions that they're out to get me or they mean bad. Let's try and be merciful, compassionate towards that person and judge them favorably. They might be doing the wrong thing, but they don't realize it or they don't mean it. So I need to be able to do that. Only after submission, accepting this is what's happening, not denying it, and separation, not mixing myself in it, but looking at it objectively, then I can have compassion and I can sweeten the situation and say, maybe they're not so bad or they don't mean so bad. Look at it positively. He continues, even when he sees foolish or improper behavior in another, he should sense that this too is for his own benefit, to help him notice that within himself there is a trace of that same fault. And through recognizing this, he will repent of it even in thought. So this is one of the classic teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. He says that another human being is really a mirror to you. What you see in another person and what bothers you about them is probably something that you have within yourself on some level. Otherwise, you never would have noticed it. Correct. We only notice things because they're in our realm. And particularly what bothers us and what irritates us the most is something that touches a raw nerve within yourself, because you've got a bit of that. Maybe not in exactly the same way or to the same extent. It might be more subtle, or it might be even more than they have. But it's something in you. That's what's really bothering you. Now, of course, not everything we see in somebody else do we have. But everything we see in somebody else must have some purpose. There must be a reason why I'm seeing it. And so there can only be 2 reasons. One is I can help them. If I can't help them, it must be I need to help myself. Otherwise, there's no other reason why I would notice or see anything negative in anybody else. So if I see somebody doing the wrong thing, or there's somebody in my life who is really irritating me, so one of 2 things: either I can do something to help this person, I can give some advice, or I can connect them to somebody who can help them what they need, or I can give them some attention and some love, whatever it might be. I must be able to help them. If I can't help them, if I can look at this situation again, I've submitted, I've accepted this is what's happening. I've separated myself from it. I'm not blaming myself or becoming entangled in it. I'm seeing it now. I need to sweeten it. Sweetening it means either help them, or if I can't help them, if there's no way I can help this person, nothing I can do about their problem. So then why am I being shown this? Why is this happening to me? Why am I even noticing this? It must be because I need to help myself. I need to sweeten something within myself. And that's why I'm having this interaction, this conflict, this clash with this person. So what I need to do, I need to fix it in me. I need to work on that trait. I'm being shown a mirror that this is what you need to work on. So find it within yourself and work on it. It might need a lot of work to discover it, to identify it. You might need help from somebody else, a third party who's objective, who could help you and say, yeah, you do have that. You do need to fix it. But this is why it's happening to you. So he continues, this is to his benefit. This entire experience is to his benefit. This annoying person who is frustrating you is all to your benefit. Why? For if he were alone, he might imagine himself to be a righteous person. But now, through the presence of another who mirrors his own weakness, he is helped to see his own imperfection and return. Meaning, if we live in isolation, so we're probably going to be quite satisfied with ourselves and think that, we're okay. It's only through bumping into other people that we realize our own flaws and the things that need to be fixed and those rough edges that need to be smoothed. And so it's to our great benefit that we have these clashes and these interactions. The fact that a human being is a social being, and we have neighbors who we don't always get on with, and we have family members who sometimes there's friction with, and we have friends and work associates and people on the bus and all types of interactions that we constantly need to go through. And some of them are really annoying. Some of them are very frustrating. And there's some pretty obnoxious people out there. Ourselves excluded, of course. We're not talking about ourselves, but others. And so why does it have to be this way? Some would say, I just wish I could just be on a desert island where I could just mind my own business and does not have to deal with all these people. Yeah. And what would happen then? Let's say you wouldn't be lonely. Let's say, no, I'm good on my own. I'm good on my own. But you wouldn't improve. You would not yearn. You wouldn't strive. There'd be nothing you need to fix. Because I'm fine, I'm perfect, I'm good on my own. When we spend too much time on our own, so we reinforce our own all rightness, and these clashes actually bring out something. Either I can help that person or they're helping me. But I need this experience. Imagine we turned around our attitude and saw every single clash as an incredible opportunity to fix something, to sweeten something. Either I need to fix them and help them, or I need to fix myself. But there's something to fix here. But that only works if you go through submission, separation, and then sweetness. Submission. This is this is life. This is me. This is meant to be. I'm supposed to be experiencing this. It's not an accident. It's not a mistake. It's not an interruption. This is life. Now separate yourself from it. Stop taking it personally or blaming yourself, or stop getting angry about that person and aiming your hatred towards them. Just separate yourself from it and think rationally, calmly for a moment. I'm being shown this either because I need to sweeten their life or my own. And so says the Baal Shem Tov, it seems to me that this is the meaning of the verse. It is not good for man to be alone. For this very reason. Why is it not good for man to be alone? Because if you're alone, you think you're okay, you don't get to grow. You don't get challenged to grow emotionally and in your character. Therefore, I will make him a help opposite him, that he might discern within himself a trace of the fault he sees in another. Understand this well, says the Baal Shem Tov. Understand deeply that you're going to be sent the people who rub you the wrong way. they are going to be opposite you. That friction is going to come inevitably, and it's for your good. It's not good for you to be alone without that friction, because then you don't grow. But with the friction, you're forced to go deeper. So understand this well. Therefore, if through a troublesome neighbor one's prayer or Torah study becomes disturbed, or he experiences other kinds of interruption, he should take it to heart that this is actually for his good, to show him that his intention was not yet completely pure, and that this disturbance was sent to awaken him to a deeper refinement. And this this and similar ways the wise will hear and increase learning. So the example he gives is, we're not talking about a neighbor that disturbs you while you're trying to sleep. You're doing something holy. You're studying Torah. You're praying. You're doing your meditation, and somebody's disturbing you. Please stop. Turn off the music. Stop bothering me. Whatever it is. Instead of just getting angry at that, stop and say, "Hang on a minute. This is happening for a reason. This too is happening for a reason." Now, yes, sometimes the reason is I need to go and tell that neighbor, "Please, you need to be more considerate." Maybe that's the message I need to convey. But sometimes you just can't. Sometimes they don't listen. You've tried that a million times. You have an upstairs neighbor who plays loud music. You've called the police on them. You've called the strata. You've done everything. They just don't listen. That's it. So maybe stop and say, okay, so then there's something I need to learn about myself. Maybe my meditation and my prayer is not so pure. Maybe I'm a bit self-absorbed in this. If I'm supposed to be praying and connecting to God, God is one, right? God is the all inclusive, includes everything, including him, including the neighbor who's banging upstairs. That's also part of the divine reality. So maybe my meditation is so self-absorbed that I'm being bothered by it, and I'm missing the point of my meditation. My prayer is invalid and needs to go deeper. I need to bring that into my prayer, bring that into the oneness as well. Maybe that's where I need to go. So if I'm able to embrace that, so then my prayer becomes deeper through the disturbance. And so too with everything that we go through in life, if we're on a path, so those things that seem to be interrupting that and blocking that path, no, they're not. That is the path. That's a part of the path. That's where I'm supposed to go. That's what I'm supposed to do. This is my challenge now. And that's the verse, the wise will hear and increase in learning. Meaning everything you hear, you'll learn something from it. Everything that happens, including the noise from the neighbor, you can learn from that too. The main point is, he concludes to understand that the Holy One, blessed be He, is present everywhere and in all a person's affairs. God is in everything, absolutely everything, including that which seems to be opposite to God. Therefore, even in ordinary stories and mundane matters, one can sense the workings of the Creator, blessed be He, just as in Torah study and prayer. You can find God in everything. This is one of the central teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, that God is in everything. And the more you study Torah and the more you pray, the more you can find God in everything, in everything that you do. So in this teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, a fascinating and beautiful one, he's taking this idea of it's not good for man to be alone, so I'll create a helpmate against him, opposite him. It's talking more about your emotional development as a person. The Meshuloach before spoke about intellectual development. Someone who disagrees with you, it sharpens your understanding. The Baal Shem Tov here talks more about emotional development, that by having the opposition, by having things that rub against you, you're forced to refine your character. There's either someone needs to be helped here. Either the person needs to be helped or you need to be helped. Take everything as a lesson, and then it's a help. It's that which is opposite you is a help to you. Another angle on this is from one of the great students of the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef HaKohen of Polonaya, the Toldos Yaakov Yosef. This was the first Hasidic work that was printed. Teachings that are majorly from the Baal Shem Tov, but also from his student, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef himself. So he says the following on this verse. When a person is confronted with forbidden food, or sexual immorality, or other matters that arouse desire, so you're confronted with a temptation. It's wrong, it's immoral, you shouldn't be doing this, but you're tempted to. So the intellect rules that everything pleasing and sweet which is forbidden is evil and must be avoided. Your mind says, I know it's right and wrong. This is wrong. This is a forbidden food or a forbidden relationship. This is inappropriate. This is not right. I'm attracted to it. I'm tempted by it, but I know it's the wrong thing. That's on the level of intellect. However, the will, ratzon, rules otherwise, saying that which is sweet and pleasant is good, and all that is good should be pursued. From a more base instinctive desire level, something that is pleasurable, that is good. You know, like it'll say on the side of a chocolate bar, goodness in every bite. This is goodness. This is pleasure. That's what goodness is. Good is pleasure. From an indulgent perspective, from a very sort of base uh, uh, human urge perspective, that which tastes good, feels good, is enjoyable, is pleasurable, is good. That's good. That's goodness. So the mind knows that there's right and wrong. It might feel good, but it's not good. But the heart desires, and that's good. It feels good. So that's it. So we have this conflict. So each one presents arguments and appearances of truth to support its claim. There are logical and rational arguments for morality, and then there are also logical and rational arguments for just pleasure, just enjoy. The intellect cannot fully refute the will's words, all the more so since the will's claim appears to be confirmed by present experience. For the sweetness and delight of the act stands tangibly before him. Something that's pleasurable is right in front of you. It's our experience. We know it's good. You can't tell me it's bad. It is good. The intellect's job here is to convince us that even though it tastes good, it's not good. That means you're going against your senses. My senses tell me this is good. And intellect says it tastes good, but it's not good. That's a tough argument. That's a bit theoretical. It's not my tangible, concrete experiences. This is pleasurable, and this is a battle. This is not easy. So whereas the intellect shows its truth only with regard to the future, and desire, chemda, has powerful force in the present moment. The intellect's what's the intellect's argument? If you chase after this forbidden pleasure, it will feel good now, but after it will not. You will feel regret and remorse and embarrassment. It'll plague on your conscience. It will lead to problems. Doing the wrong thing leads to bad things. It might be pleasurable now, but it's not going to be pleasurable in the future. That's the intellect's argument. But your will, your desire says it's good now. Future, it doesn't exist. What exists is the moment right here. We're supposed to live in the present, right? So again, it's weighted against doing the right thing because there's the immediacy of the pleasure, whereas the intellect is talking about some future far off thing. So it's a tough battle. Thus, passion overcomes the intellect and completes the sin through the power of craving. This is how we get conquered. This is how we fall, because the immediacy of the pleasure trumps the long distance, higher values that are not right in front of your eyes. Therefore, he says, the animal does not sin, for it has no such conflict or moral struggle. No animal has ever sinned. And likewise, it is neither rewarded nor punished. An animal does not deserve reward for doing good or punishment for doing wrong, for its acts are not the result of choice. An animal does not have this inner battle. An animal follows its instincts and does what it is programmed to do. That is neither innately good nor innately evil. If an animal attacks, that's its nature. If an animal saves, that's its nature. It's doing what it's programmed to do. Whereas a human being has this inner battle constantly where we're tempted to do the wrong thing by one side of ourselves, and we have another side of conscience that tries to pull us out of that and do the right thing. And the proof of this is from the concept of free choice. As it is said, it is not good for man to be alone. What's that to do with free choice? For the unique quality of good action that comes through choice cannot exist unless there is opposition, something that inclines him toward evil, so that by conquering that inclination, he may be called one who performs good. So here, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, he takes this verse as describing the moral character of the human being. And that is, it's not good for man to be alone, means it's not good for man to be one-sided. Only with a helpmate against us, only when there's a force against us that we need to overcome, do we have free choice. Man being alone means man being singular. Man just having one path, like an animal. An animal just has one path. I am who I am. I do what I'm supposed to do. I do what I'm programmed to do, and I never veer from it. That's an animal. A man cannot be alone, cannot have one path. A man has to have a force against that you have to overcome, and that gives us free choice. That's the uniqueness of the human being. So Rabbi Yaakov Yosef takes this line as being describing the challenge of free choice, the moral loneliness of having one path, as opposed to the moral challenge, the tension of having two paths that you could go. You could follow this one or that one. Your urges that pull you towards temptation that is immediate, or your higher self that wants to control your urges and do that which is right, even when it's not easy. And that is the helpmate against you is your own evil, your own inner evil and inclination. So fascinating. We've seen the Meshaleach gives it as talking about the intellectual challenges that we have, that by having an opposition, having a different opinion, having somebody else questioning us, we sharpen our understanding of things. The Baal Shem Tov said that it's talking about our emotional state, that by having people who annoy us, who frustrate us, who get in our way, we're forced to sweeten that situation by realizing our own imperfections and trying to get on with people on an emotional level. Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Apollonai says it's talking about our moral free choice, that we have to be created in such a way that there's an opposition to doing the right thing, where we innately have within us a resistance to doing good. We're not created as just good people who just do good things. We're created as good people who also have a bad side to us, an evil side, a selfish side, an indulgent side, a side that could not give a stuff about what's right and wrong and just do what we want. That's a part of the human condition. It's part of who we are. We need that opposition because that gives us free choice. It means that when you overcome that urge, you chose it. You wanted to do it. And finally, I want to look at one more very profound exposition of this verse that will give us an even deeper glimpse into the depth of the Torah. This is from a book called Torah Or, the teachings of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, known as the Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya and the founder of the Chabad movement. So in his discourses on this verse, he says the following very deep idea. He takes this entire verse into the esoteric and mystical world. He says the following: if God's illumination were to be revealed and drawn forth to enliven created beings as it exists in its essence, the beings could not exist as they are now, as distinct and separate entities. For the creative light and life force would shine upon them openly, and they would then be utterly nullified out of existence as all stands before him as naught. Meaning that in creating the world, if God would shine his light as it is, if he would in an unadulterated way just shine his infinite self, we couldn't exist. We finite beings cannot exist in the light of infinity, in the face of infinity. If God would be revealed to us, we would be wiped away. We would not be able to exist. Why can we not see God? Why is God hidden? Well, because if he wouldn't be hidden, we wouldn't exist. If God would be revealed, we would be subsumed. You can't look at the light of the sun. It's too bright. The sun is just one little creation of God. If God himself would be revealed, not just we couldn't look at it, we couldn't stand, we couldn't exist. We'd be completely swallowed up in his all-powerful, almighty existence. It's like when a very big character walks into the room, everyone else disappears. All attention is to this big charismatic character. That's a human being. God is way more infinite than that. Takes up all space. No one else can exist in his infinity. So he couldn't shine his light as it is. Therefore, in the second paragraph, the Holy One, blessed be He, made a shield and casing for the name Havaya, which is his infinite light. And this is the aspect of the name Elohim, which conceals and hides the intensity of the light through restraint and constrictions. Then the existence of a distinct and separate being can emerge. He's referring here to the two main names of God that we find in the Torah and in our prayers. There's one spelled Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, but it's pronounced it Adonai. And there's one Elohim. Two names of God that are usually translated as the Lord our God. These two names are not just two names, they represent two different expressions of the divine. There is Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, which means God's infinite self. And there's Elohim, God's power of concealment, where he hides himself. If God would reveal himself in his pure, unadulterated way, we couldn't exist. So God created a covering for himself, a concealment, which is the name Elohim, which conceals the light of Yud Ke Vav Ke. So his light is filtered, contracted, limited, and not fully on display. So as we sit here, we are actually sitting in the divine reality, because God is everywhere and fills all of existence. Everything that's happening, all of our movement and our life and our existence, all of it is godly energy. However, that energy is hidden from us. We don't feel it. We feel ourselves as being alive, as being conscious, as being aware. We don't feel the divine consciousness, the divine energy that is giving us life and existence. That's because God concealed that light in a way that it's not detectable. We're experiencing it because we're alive, we're here, this is all godly, but we see a world, we feel ourselves, he's hidden within that light. That's the concealment of the divine light. Why did he do it that way? Because he wants us to exist. He wants us to have an identity, to be autonomous beings. And so therefore he's hidden. It's like, if parents are constantly watching their kids behave mostly. But as soon as you walk out of the room, now they do what they want. But if you want to see, are the kids really behaving? So you have to walk out of the room. You have to tell them what's expected of them, and then you have to leave them. If you're always down their neck, so then you're not giving them the ability to do their own thing. In a similar way, obviously that's a little metaphor to a bigger concept, that God didn't want us to be just extensions of him. He wants us to be free beings. So he hid from us. He gives us existence, but not existence that we can feel that it's him. So therefore we could deny him, we could ignore him, or we could choose him. He gives us the ability to be autonomous, free entities, free beings. That is the two names of God, the divine light that enlivens us, and the hiding force that allows us to exist as separate entities. Third paragraph, this aspect is also called Shechina, the divine presence. So the hidden aspect of God is called the Shechina, the divine presence, from the phrase, and I shall dwell amongst them, to be present and dwell amongst us. For it is through this attribute that the divine light clothes itself within the creative beings. Were the light to be revealed as it is in its essence, no creature could possibly contain it. But by dwelling within us in a hidden way, we can exist, but we're separate beings. The ultimate purpose of the descent and drawing down of God's light into the created beings, to vitalize them through the constriction of the name Elohim, so that they come to exist as independent beings, is that afterwards the yesh, the sense of separateness, should be nullified into ayin, divine nothingness. Again, why did God do this? Why did he create this situation where we exist, but we don't realize that our existence comes from him? So we feel separate from him. Why did he do this? Because he wants us within our self-existence to choose to connect with him, to nullify ourselves and open ourselves up to the divine, but to do it by choice, not by force, but by choice. Now, do you see how what he's describing here is very similar to what we described about Adam and Eve and their relationship? Adam and Eve were originally one, but as long as they're one, there can't be a relationship. They had to be separated. Only by being separated can there be a relationship, because a relationship needs a separate entity and needs free choice. You can't have a relationship with an extension of yourself, and you can't have a relationship with somebody who's forced to be in a relationship with you. To be real, there has to be separateness and free choice. That, says the Alter Rebbe here, is actually a metaphor for the entire divine construct of the universe. That there was just God originally. And if God would just shine his light, there is only God and nothing else can exist. But by him contracting himself, hiding himself, creating this duality of two names of God, the light that's infinite and beyond, and then the hidden light that is within, by creating that duality, so now he's created separateness. We exist as separate beings. And that is the opportunity for a relationship. Because as separate beings, we have free choice. We don't feel him, we don't see him, so we could ignore him, or we could choose him. We have free choice now. And that is actually the whole point of our existence. The whole reason we were created was because God desired a relationship. And that happens through him creating us as separate beings, and then it's up to us to choose to connect with him. This, he says, this is God's pleasure. That there be an existent being that becomes nullified. Like that is incredible. This gives God his pleasure. This is what he created the world for. That you and I exist, and we choose to nullify ourselves, to submit ourselves, to surrender ourselves to him, to connect to him, to go beyond ourselves, beyond our ego. That is incredible. Just like in a human relationship, what is the true power of a relationship? That there's a person who chose me. It's not just I chose them, that they chose me. That they could have done anything they wanted and they chose me. They didn't have to, and they did. That is incredible. That is the greatest, deepest pleasure. The reason why we get such pleasure out of that is because God gets pleasure out of that. And remember, we're created in his image.
What does it mean, the constriction of the name Elohim?
It means that the power of Elohim is the power of tzimtzum. So the tzimtzum power of Elohim, the power of Hashem to hide himself. It's not the name of Elohim being constricted. It is the constriction power of Elohim. So in other words, God just like God has the power to reveal, he has the power to conceal. It's also him. If we would have a revelation of God now, as we're sitting here, if we would sit here and God would reveal himself to us, what would that mean? That would mean we would have some supersensory experience where the divine infinite self somehow reveals itself and blows our mind, and we have a revelation of God. That's a revelation of God. But meanwhile, that's not happening. We're sitting here and God is hidden. But actually, hiddenness is also God. Just like there's a name, Yud Kevavke, the name of God's revelation, there's also a name Elohim, the name of God's concealment. It's his power to conceal. So we are having an experience of God, but the experience of his concealment. It's not two things. It's really all him. The world we're looking at is the concealed light of God, which is a topic to elaborate another time. But for our purposes, we're appreciating the actual purpose of creation is expressed in this power of God concealing himself to give us freedom to choose him. His light descends through concealments and contractions so that a something might emerge. So he continues the next paragraph. The Shekhinah is called in scripture a mirror. As it says in a vision, mare is the word for vision, which is also a mirror, I make myself known. So God describes his Shekhinah, which is his indwelling hidden presence in the world, as like a mirror. Why a mirror? The analogy is to a physical mirror, which shows a person what is behind him. This occurs because the glass is coated with silver, which conceals the transparency of the glass and prevents the light from passing straight through. Because of this obstruction, the light is reflected back, allowing one to see behind. something impossible without the coating. Yet this works only when the coating is fine and light like silver. If the cover were thick and dark, nothing could be seen. So you have a window. A window is glass that you see through. You have a frosted window where there's a blockage where you can't see through. But then you have a mirror where there's some refined silver on the other side. That refinement, the shininess, the smoothness of the silver allows a bouncing back to see behind me. I can see not just ahead, I can see behind, which normally you can't see behind. When you're looking this way, you can't see that way. But the mirror allows me to see beyond myself. So what does all this mean? So too in the spiritual. The name Havaya is the downward flow of divine revelation, while the name Elikim represents the concealment and contraction, the cover that restrains the spread of illumination. Right? So there's God's infinite light that's giving us energy, but we can't see that because it's concealed by Elikim, by the power of concealment. From this concealment, an ascending light, a bouncing back light, is generated, a reflected radiance that rises higher than the direct light of Havaya. We'll explain in a second. As it says, a woman of valor is the crown of her husband, and the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun. Saying what? Just like in the mirror, because the light is blocked, reflection occurs and the illumination reaches back even further. So too, God's light is blocked in this world, but that allows a deeper light to be revealed. It bounces back so we can see even higher. It's like God is looking down at the world, but the world is a blockage, is a mirror, which allows the light to bounce up to even higher than where he was coming from. The light that was coming down bounces up to an even higher place. So too, this world allows an even higher revelation than if we would have got the original revelation that was concealed. I'm glad to hear that. Because this is what is he saying here? He's
the letters actually they're showing the process of concealment.
Correct. But here he's saying that the name Elohim, the hiddenness of God, reveals even higher light than his revelation would reveal. Meaning, what we said was, if God's infinite light would shine, we'd be wiped out. We couldn't handle that. It would overwhelm us. Why? Because it's infinite. Infinite is infinite, right? We're finite. So I have a cup. This cup is a finite cup. It can only hold 200 mils, whatever it is. If you pour an infinite amount of water into my cup, it's going to spill everywhere. It's not a useful activity because I have a finite cup, and infinite can't fit into finite, right? So therefore, if you want to fill into my cup, you have to limit. Just drop a little bit in there, but not infinite, because I can't handle infinity. So too, if God's infinite light would shine into our finite world, we would disappear. We wouldn't be able to handle it. We wouldn't exist. So he puts a finite light, and that's us. We exist, you and I, we're here because a finite hidden light of God, he concealed his light. But now what? Now that there's a concealed light in this world, do you know what we're here to do? We're here to try and connect to God. In our finiteness, to connect to God. So when you do a mitzvah, a good deed, when you decide to live instead of just selflessly, when you decide to contribute to the world and make it a bit holier, make it a bit better, instead of just being a normal instinctive being that just looks after myself, I'm going to do something for the world, for others, and make the world better and do good and do holy and good acts. What I'm doing is I'm connecting to God. As a finite being, I'm connecting to God. What I'm showing is that this finite world is not really separate from the infinite world. It's not really separate from God. It looks like it is, but it's not. And I'll prove it to you because look at what we just did today. We did a mitzvah. We did good deeds. We're not just these finite beings. We're beings that can connect to infinity. What we've just done is we've actually expanded infinity. Because infinity before couldn't go into finite world. Infinite water can't go into finite cup. But we just redefine this cup. We just redefine this world as saying this is a world where God can go. God can be revealed in this world. Because look, we're doing holy acts. We're doing mitzvahs. We're doing things that are connecting to God in our finiteness. We just expanded the realms of infinity. Which means the bouncing back, the blockage of God's light allows the light to bounce back even higher than where it came from, even greater than what we started with. What we started with was there's infinity and that can't be infiniteness. There's God's infinite self that can't coexist with a finite world. They're a contradiction. That's what we started with. Therefore, God has to hide his infinity to create this world. So we are a world that is a something separate from God. Why are we separate from God? Because if God reveals himself, there's no us. We don't exist. There's just God. God is alone. That's how he started. He started off as being alone. If he doesn't want to be alone, he has to hide to allow there to be another, which is us. Now we exist. Well, Shekhinah is the hidden part, the part that dwells with us, but it's hidden. So as long as now we exist, but why do we exist? In order to reconnect ourselves to our source, to transcend our somethingness, to go back to the divine something that is beyond us. By living a life that is meaningful, purposeful, and holy, by doing good deeds in this world, through free choice, we're connecting to God. We just now expanded the realm of infinity. We showed that God can be present in this world. He can be revealed in this world. It's not a contradiction. Something that at the beginning was a problem is now not a problem. God can't be in this world. Yes, he can. Because look, we finite beings are connecting to him. We only will see that when Mashiach comes. The idea of Mashiach is the divine light that we are creating now by doing good deeds will be revealed in this world. What was impossible now becomes possible. Infinity is revealed in the finiteness. Because if you're really infinite, if you really have no limitation, you should be able to be in limitation as well. Again, if you're truly infinite, infinite means nothing binds you, nothing limits you. You should be able to be in the limited world as well. And that's our job, to bring God into the limited world. So, it's not good for man to be alone. Do you know which man it's talking about? The man that we're in his image. It's talking about God. That it's not good for God to be alone. God didn't want to be alone. He wanted a relationship. So what did he create? A helpmate against him. He created an opposite force, a force that hides him, that conceals him, a world where he's not present, where you can deny him. He created this opposition to him, but it's a helpmate against him. That opposition, the fact that there's a world that has separateness from him, that is disconnected from him, that you could ignore him and go the wrong way. The fact that we live in a world that could be very evil and bad means that we have free choice to choose good and actually have a relationship with the divine and invite him into our world. And by doing that, we achieve something that was not there in the beginning. In the beginning, there was infinity as a contradiction to finiteness, and we solve that contradiction. We unite them together as one. So what the Alter Rebbe here is saying is a very profound idea, but he's saying that the description of Adam and Eve is actually a description of God and the world. That originally Adam was alone. Eve was a part of him. There was just one entity. God split them so they should be a separate entity that choose to unite and to connect. That's exactly what happened with the universe. There was just God. He was alone. But he wanted a relationship. A relationship means with a separate being who chooses you. And that opposition, by creating our separateness, that is our strength. Our weakness is our strength. The fact that we're separate from God means that we can choose him and create a relationship with him where we invite infinity into our finite world. what we see from all of these, there's a string that connects all of them. There's a message that goes through all of these interpretations, and that is that the thing that is our greatest impediment, the thing that is blocking us the most, that which counters us, that goes against our grain the most, is our greatest strength and our doorway to meaning and purpose. That's where our mission is. Whether it be on an intellectual level, the person who disagrees with us and questions us, it's to sharpen our own understanding of reality. Whether it's on an emotional level, that the people that annoy us and frustrate us, they are there for us to refine ourselves, to either help them or help ourselves, but to become a better person. Whether it's on a moral level, that the fact that it's hard for us to choose to do the right thing and we're tempted often to do the wrong thing, we're pulled in the wrong direction. That is what makes us meaningful beings. We have free choice for that reason, and therefore, when we choose good, it's meaningful. And on a essential soul level, our very existence is, we're created as a separate entity from God who could go any direction we want. And therefore, when we choose to connect, we are fulfilling our ultimate mission. And so, therefore, it's not good for man to be alone, to be unchallenged, to be an island. That's not good on any level. But to have a help that is against us, the friction is what is the greatest help, and that fulfills our mission. Okay. Any questions, comments?
One question.
Sure.
About the Mashiach is coming. How come he didn't come before? He wants to come now.
How come Mashiach hasn't come before? So it's a puzzle. We don't know, but it must be that for whatever reason, the world hasn't been fully ready. There must be one thing that needs to be fixed. Maimonides said in his time that we have to look at the world as if it's balanced between good and evil, and the next act will tip the balance one way or the other. And so there's one mitzvah, there's one good deed. Maybe your next choice is the one that will tip the balance. And that's what the world's waiting for.
But they've been waiting for many years. Jesus Christ